Good evening. This is Political Forum for Wednesday, June 8th. Today we welcome Alderman Chris Taliaferro, the 29th Ward, as our guest. Thank you for appearing on the show tonight, Alderman.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me this evening.
My name is Eileen Kim, and I'm a board member here at CAN TV. You're watching a live interactive program brought to you as a community service by CAN TV. Be sure to tell your friends that they can also watch this show online at cantv.org/hotline. We welcome your questions and comments for the Alderman. Please call us at 312-738-1060. During the next 25 minutes, we'll try to get to as many of your calls as possible on the air. So Alderman, let's start off by talking a little bit about your ward. Can you tell us where it is and the communities that it encompasses?
Absolutely. We are on the west side and northwest side of the city of Chicago. Our southeast borders are Roosevelt and Cicero. And we actually go all the way to the northwest sector of the ward, which is our north border is Roscoe, which is 2 blocks north of Belmont. And we go to 7500 West, which our west border is Oriole. It's a pretty large ward. It encompasses 2 large communities, one of being the Austin community and Montclair. But we also have the Belmont Heights, Shores Village neighborhoods as well.
Great. And in case you didn't get the contact information for the Alderman's office, don't worry, we'll show it again throughout the show. So what are some of the pressing issues that your ward is facing right now?
I think the predominant issue that's pressing in the 29th Ward, as well as on the west side of Chicago, I would have to say the increase in violence. We've experienced, just as well as some of the other wards on the west side of Chicago, we've experienced an increase in violence this year as opposed to last year and the year before. And that's something that we are working very diligently on trying to curtail and trying to reduce as well. We have a spike in homicides as well as a spike in shootings on the west side of Chicago. And I think with that, the issue of economic development as well as jobs always has to be looked at when you are discussing reduction in violence. So those are the things that my office is really working on, trying to either reduce and increase, reducing the violence, but increasing jobs, and reducing the unemployment rate on the west side of Chicago.
So you spoke a little bit about some of the issues that your ward is facing. Can you speak a little bit about some of the initiatives that you're doing that are having a positive impact and some of the good things that are happening in the communities that you serve?
Well, I think, working with our police department, the Chicago Police Department, particularly in the 25th District as well as the 15th Police District, they are initiating programs, and they're keeping me very updated on some of the initiatives that they have to reduce crime. But from my office perspective, we are continuing to work with different businesses and trying to provide as many jobs as possible. One of the initiatives of Mayor Rahm Emanuel that I really and fully support is One Summer Chicago. This summer, the city is looking at hiring over 25,000 young men and young women throughout the city. Last year, the Austin community was well represented within the 22,000 that were hired. But a personal initiative, one thing that I've started this year is the 29th Ward Summer Intern Program. I've spoken to quite a few businesses throughout the ward with the challenge of hiring a summer intern for the summer. Some of the businesses have taken up that challenge with 6. One business with 7. So we are providing opportunities for young men and women, particularly in high school, to have employment this summer. From an economic perspective, we have quite a few projects that have been initiated by different organizations in the ward. The one organization, AAA-BNA, which is a business-oriented entity in the ward, which is comprised of quite a few businesses that operate throughout the Austin community. They have initiated a project along Chicago Avenue to make that between Austin and Central, which encompasses my ward, to make that a business district where there's entertainment, restaurants. And that's a project I'm fully supportive of and have lent my support as well. The Austin Chamber has recently initiated what I call the AACC initiative. It's the Austin Arts and Cultural Campus. And I think these are just two economic drivers that should bring good business to the ward and help develop it from an economic perspective. I hope to bring jobs with these initiatives, and that's why I'm fully supportive of them.
That's great.
Mhm.
As a reminder to our viewers, you're watching Political Forum, a community service of CAN TV. My name is Eileen Kim, and I'm a board member here at CAN TV. And this is a live interactive show. If you have any questions for the alderman, please call us excuse me, at 312-738-1060. So Alderman, I saw on your website that the results of your participatory budgeting came in. What were some of your favorite project ideas that came through, and then what were the results?
My absolute favorite. I went to Poland last year. After not flying for many years, I developed a fear of flying. Don't know how it happened, but it did. But I went to Poland, and one thing that really struck me was, as I would leave or look out at the hotel room in the morning, first thing in the morning, I saw workout equipment in the parks. And it was outdoor workout equipment and also play equipment for children. The parents whose children were playing in the park, they played and the adults worked out. And I was really fascinated by that. I couldn't think of any areas in Chicago and any of the park districts where there was some outdoor adult workout equipment available right by the playground where the kids can not only be watched, but the adults can participate in activity as well. We want to be a ward that's not only fiscally sound, but physically sound as well. And I should lead it off, but I could say that I was very impressed by that, and that was one of the things that I wanted to bring to the participatory budgeting process and have the community vote on it. Another one of my favorites is a refuge island along one of our busiest streets, North Avenue. We have a stretch from Mobile to Austin where there is no traffic controls, and it's a wide street, and we have approximately 3 daycares within that stretch. And I've seen people get stuck in the middle, and so this would be an opportunity to provide a refuge island where they could cross halfway, and when the traffic clears, they could cross the other half. They both did well in the voting. I was very happy to see that when I was asking one of my staff members who tallied the votes, I said, how'd they do? And when he told me one of them came in third and I think the other came in fourth or something like that, I was very happy to see that we're going to be taking care of those initiatives. But overall, the community came up with fantastic ideas. Things that range from a couple of murals, which would help beautify our community. Not only we're building our ward from an infrastructural perspective, but we want to build our ward from an aesthetic perspective as well that brings about great community development. We had the murals, we have the workout equipment, of course, the refuge islands. But one thing that I found which surprised me, but we had a lot of support, and that's community gardens. So our ward is very conscious about health, and I'm looking forward to being able to. This is my first year doing the participatory budgeting, and I'm very much looking forward this year to implementing all of the projects that were voted on. I think it was successful. I would like to have seen more people come out, but we're going to do things better next year and bigger next year.
Great.
Yep.
And Alderman, it looks like we have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your question for the alderman?
Yes, I have a question. I'm noticing now that there's a lot, obviously with the warm weather, a lot more bikes that are on the roadways. And Alderman, I think that you're on the Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee. So, I mean, I bike the city, I like biking in the city. But is there anything we can do to help, reduce the amount of accidents that can happen with a lot of bikers? I'm seeing them blow through traffic lights, blow through stop signs, and cars almost hitting them. So I notice this is just going to be a problem as we move into the summer months. So I was wondering if this is something the committee, looks at, talks about, if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. That is something that we need to, be aware of, even in the midst of continuing to expand bike lanes throughout the city. I just had a meeting last week where we talked about expanding bike lanes along Chicago Avenue, as well as Madison Avenue. As of right now, Madison stops at a certain point, but we're looking at expanding it all the way to Oak Park. And we're also in my ward, we're looking at having, well, not looking at, but they are going to be putting 9 Divvy stations. So in the midst of increasing opportunities for bikers along a lot of the major streets in Chicago, we have to be aware of safety as well. So I'd be willing to work with any of the groups that, especially within the 29th ward, in identifying areas where we need to, or there's a lack of biker safety. And I think that's something that we have to always be conscious of. We have some fantastic organizations that put those things first and foremost, even before trying to implement a new bike lane. They look at the safety that that would be associated to bringing it to that particular area. So I'd love to continue to work with them and bringing about measures that would increase safety for bikers.
You're watching, as a quick reminder, you're watching Political Forum, a community service of CAN TV. My name is Eileen and I'm a board member here at CAN TV, and this is a live interactive show. If you have any questions for Alderman Taliaferro, please give us a call at 312-738-1060. So going off of the bike question that we just got with the Divvy Bikes, how have those been received in the neighborhood? A lot of people using them. Have you used one yourself? Or?
It's very interestingly, last summer, I was speaking to a group, I believe, the Transportation Alliance. I forgot the exact name of the group, but they said, Alderman, next year you got to get on the bike and you got to ride the bike, with us. And I said, well, I'm not thin anymore. And they said, well, we got a seat for you. We can get you a seat and rent a bike. I said, well, it's something we'll talk about. But I've not biked since I was, oh my goodness, I can't remember. I want to say at least in my early teens.
Wow.
But I don't think I've lost it. I just need to probably use it to help me get in shape as well. But the Divvy Bikes haven't come yet to the 29th ward. We do have a commitment to having at least 9 stations within the ward. And we're trying to get them as far north as Chicago Avenue. We have a wonderful new bus turnaround that CTA has completed, complete with beautiful plants. The only thing it's missing is having a Divvy station there. With 9 prospective sites coming, I think our ward is looking forward to being able to hop on a bike or two and transverse across the ward.
And we have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your question for Alderman
Hello.
Taliaferro? Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. My question was in terms of what the Alderman said at the beginning of the show about his concern with the uptick in violence. I saw a report earlier this evening on NBC Chicago that said that 11 more Chicago public schools tested positive for lead. I just kind of wanted to get the Alderman's reaction to that, particularly since exposure to lead in children can lead to more violent behaviors, and perhaps, get some ideas about what the City Council is prepared to do in partnership with CPS to get the situation under control.
Thank you.
And caller, thank you so much for that that question or comment. I think all of us have a great concern with the amount of lead that's found in drinking water. One of the questions that I've asked, and I wanted to bring this to my community's attention, so I partnered with Cook County Commissioner Richard Boykin, and we had a town hall forum where the water department was represented, as well as water reclamation were represented, and they actually presented to the community, asked and answered a lot of questions. But the overall concern was, do we have lead in our drinking water, particularly on the at the end of what's Michigan's going through, I believe in Detroit. We have to make sure that our residents are safe as well. So what I've been advising my constituents to do is to make sure that they are calling 311 where their water can be tested by the city at no cost. I've not seen the recent article that I believe the caller said that some of our public schools have been there's been lead found in the water, drinking water. We have to make sure that our children are safe while at school, whether it's from drinking water or safe from violence.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is so, if that article is true and there's lead found, we need to do everything necessary to make sure that lead can be reduced, whether we need to change pipes or whatever the case may be. I remember, and I'll kind of be quiet after this. I remember part of my time as a police officer, I worked on the gun range. One thing I've always been fascinated about is marksmanship. So I shot. That was my all-day thing. I shot ammunition, bullets that were lined with lead. And I found my doctors, as we were taking our children to the doctor for their physicals, they found that my children's lead level was increased.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a direct result of me bringing it home from the job, which I had. And I had to make sure that, I had to stop doing something I absolutely loved or put my children first.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up leaving that position because we have to make sure that our children are safe. So taking every single measure that we can to make that possible, I'm willing to stand behind.
Thank you for that answer.
Oh, it was a long one, but
As a quick reminder, if you have a question for Alderman Taliaferro, the number is 312-738-1060. So summer's approaching.
it is.
A lot of things are going on. Any exciting upcoming events in your ward that you'd like the viewers to be aware of?
Well, not in my ward, but the Cubs are winning, and that's always exciting. Well, yes, we do have a lot of things that are happening in my ward, and I'm really excited about the 29th Ward Summer Intern Program, which I believe it's much needed in our ward. We have to find every avenue that we can to put some of these young men and women to work and get them off the streets.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some things. For example, we have our maybe not exciting, but we're selling city stickers out of the office this next week, and but I'm looking forward to all of the summer festivities that occur throughout the ward,
Mm-hmm.
be it block parties, but people come out in the summertime, and that always excites me because we spend months and months inside, and now we get to go out and really be a part of the good weather. So I think we're going to have an exciting summer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have a violent summer, and I don't want violence to keep folks in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to it.
And I saw that you're also doing a drive for veterans and military families.
Yes.
Can anyone? What kind of things are you collecting?
You can donate, and there are several sites throughout the city. I know a lot of aldermen are participating in this. You could send, as far as I know, any household product, because we got a lot of stuff that are being donated, and the tables being filled every day. So bring in any household product that you think a homeless veteran may need, or a veteran without housing may particularly need. I'm very passionate about our veterans, being a veteran myself. We have a lot of good veteran initiatives that we, as a caucus, a veterans caucus, the first in the country, are trying to put together. Myself and Alderman Gilbert Villegas, as well as some of the other members of the Veterans Caucus, has spearheaded an event where we are looking at the contributions of those that served in the military, and particularly those that didn't return, that are now listed as POW MIAs. I don't want to spoil what we have coming up in July, but it's going to be a memorable event at City Council. And this is an initiative that was brought up to me last summer, and I'm glad that we're able to try to bring this to fruition. It recognizes the service of our veterans, particularly those that have not returned. There are over 9,000.
Wow.
And it is not believed that many of them are alive at this point. But, they should always be remembered and recognized.
Well, we thank you for your service as well.
It was a good service. It was a good time.
We have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your question for the alderman?
Good evening. Alderman, maybe you could explain something to me, all right? There's a different, I'm talking about in terms of our policy, I'm talking about stop and question opposed to stop and frisk. If you have people that happen to be on parole or probation, guess what? As a condition to meet, they cannot have no type of firearms on them. Now, if they can be searched if they meet those type of criteria. It seems like no matter what we try to do in terms of getting the guns off the street, what's wrong with having what you call stop and question opposed to stop and frisk?
I agree with and caller, thanks for bringing that up. I think it becomes an issue that may be border unconstitutionality. When you stop someone, period, there's a brief moment of detention, and you have to be able, as an officer, you have to be able to articulate reasonable suspicion for your stop. You just can't stop someone because you know them to be an ex-offender. So we have to be careful. Our police department has to be very careful as not to violate one's constitutional rights. So when you stop and question, police officers want to feel that they are safe in the process of questioning. That's where the frisk comes, not search, but the frisk. And a frisk is just essentially a pat down of your outer garments to make sure that there's nothing that will harm that particular officer. But no matter whether it's a stop or question or stop and frisk, it's the stop itself that can determine whether or not it's constitutional. The police officers are not permitted by U.S. Constitution, by law, to stop without a justifiable reason. So I believe that, in trying to answer your question the best that I can, we do want guns off the street. We want illegal guns off the street. And we want those that are in possession of weapons illegally off the street. But we have to do it, when we're doing it, to make sure that we're not violating anyone's constitutional right or their right to carry. So I think there are a lot of measures that our police department is coming up with. Our superintendent seems to be very eager about reducing crime in his city. But I think most importantly, he wants to make sure it's being done right as well.
Thank you. I believe we have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your question for the Alderman?
Am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
Okay, this is for the Alderman. How are you doing, Alderman, today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay, look, I just purchased a firearm. I have my Ford card. I'm just purchasing my stuff from FFL dealer. I will go to the legal channel to let others firearm. I'm not going to the pistol, and I will take my concealed carry allowance. If I'm telling the police with my Ford card is not verified, this is my weapon, tell them I have to register the city.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit. Would it be possible to repeat the question again? I'm sorry, I think the connection's bad.
Yeah, I believe, and I'm going to try to take a stab. Unfortunately, there was a bad connection. But if I could give you a little information, I believe at the beginning, before the sound went bad, you had purchased a firearm. You've purchased it legally from a reputable dealer, and that's where we kind of got cut off. Mm-hmm. You did say that you have a Ford card. I did pick that up. If you have a Ford card and you have a firearm, that allows you to legally possess a firearm. The dealer that sold you the firearm would have made sure prior to purchasing that you are one that are eligible to have that firearm. If you are interested in carrying that firearm, that is something completely different than what you would need. You would also need a concealed carry permit, and that is issued through the state of Illinois. But if that's your question, I would ask you to call the Illinois State Police, and they will give you direction as to apply and the requirements for being able to carry. I do know that you'll be required to take a certain number of hours of firearms training at a certified and approved site, at which time you will be evaluated to be able to carry a concealed weapon. But let me warn you that you cannot carry, and I shouldn't use the word warn, but let me advise you that you cannot carry that weapon on your person without having a concealed permit. Having the type of ID that you do have, it may allow you to have it in your home, but you cannot carry that license, that weapon on your persons until you've completed the necessary requirements as required by the Illinois State Police in the state of Illinois. So call the Illinois State Police, and they will give you better direction as to how you can come to carry a concealed weapon in the state of Illinois and in the city of Chicago.
So Alderman, we just have a few more minutes left on tonight's show.
Okay.
Are there any final comments you'd like to make?
You know what? I want to thank you for allowing me to come here this evening and showcase the 29th Ward. We are a growing ward, and I am excited about serving my constituents. And I do want to let our viewers or listeners know, rather, that we do have a community meeting the first Wednesday of every month at Columbus Park Refectory. And every Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month, we have a meeting at Rutherford Sierra Park, a community meeting. And I have my ward nights every Monday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And of course, I have an open door policy. So if you are not busy, please feel free to stop by. And if I'm there, my doors are always open. And as I always say, I love my ward and I love the residents on my ward. And but again, thanks for having me this evening.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the contact information up once more. If you need to reach Alderman Taliaferro, this is his contact information, phone number, email, and his website. And Alderman Taliaferro, thank you so much for appearing on Political Forum tonight. And thank you to the viewers for calling in. Our telephone technician has been Sylvia, and Political Forum is brought to you as a community service by CAN TV. Please join us again next week for our next Political Forum, which will be next Wednesday, June 15th. And our guest will be Alderman Walter Burnett of the 27th Ward.
Maybe I'll join Walter too.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.